Polite requests. Max Millwall used to be a popular comedian on British radio. He's nearly 70 now, but he still performs in clubs in the Midlands and north of England. He's on stage now at the All-Star Variety Club in Wigan.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and others. It's nice to be back in Wigan again. Well, I have to say that. I say it every night. I said it last night. The only trouble was that I was in Birmingham. I thought the audience looked confused. Actually, I remember Wigan very well indeed, really. You know, the first time I came here was in the 1930s. I was very young and very shy. Thank you, Mother. No, you can't believe that, can you? Well, it's true. I was very young and very shy. Anyway, the first Saturday night I was in Wigan, I decided to go to the local dance hall. You remember the old Majestic Ballroom in Withenshaw Street? There's a multi-storey car park there now. It was a lovely place, always full of beautiful girls. The ballroom, not the car park. Of course, most of them are grandmothers now. Oh, you were there too, were you, love? I was much too shy to ask anyone for a dance, so I sat down at a table and I thought I'd watch for a while. You know, see how the other lads did it. At the next table there was a lovely girl in a blue dress. She'd arrived with a friend, but her friend was dancing with someone. This bloke came over to her. He was very posh, wearing a dinner jacket and a bow tie. Well, he walked up to her and said, "Excuse me, may I have the pleasure of the next dance?" She looked up at him. She had lovely big blue eyes and said, "Eh? What did you say?" So he said, "I wonder if you would be kind enough to dance with me. If you don't mind." No, thank you very much," she replied. A few minutes later, this other chap arrived. He had a blue suit, a nice tie, a little moustache. He gave her this big smile and said, "Would you be so kind as to have the next dance with me?" "Pardon?" she said. I thought to myself, she's a bit deaf, or maybe she hasn't lost her ears recently. "Would you mind having the next dance with me?" he said, a bit nervously this time. No thanks, love. I'm finishing my lemonade," she replied. Blimey, I thought, this looks a bit difficult. Then this third fella came over. He was very good looking, you know, black teeth, white hair. Sorry, I mean, white teeth, black hair. "May I ask you something?" he said, ever so politely. "If you like," she answered. Could I, no, might I have the next dance with you?" "Oh, sorry," she said. "My feet are aching. I've been standing up all day at the shop." By now I was terrified. I mean, she said no to all of them. Then this fourth character thought he'd try. "Would you like to dance?" he said. "What?" she replied. She was a lovely girl, but I didn't think much of her voice. "Do you want to dance?" he said. She looked straight at him. "No," she said. "That's all." "No." Well, I decided to go home. I was wearing an old jacket and trousers, and nobody would say that I was good looking. Just as I was walking past her table, she smiled. "Dance?" I said. "Thank you very much," she replied. And that was that. It's our 40th wedding anniversary next week.
Polite requests.
Mike?
Yes?
Shut the door, will you? It's freezing in here.
Right. Sorry.
Karen?
Yes?
Lend me 20p. I left my purse in the office.
Oh, OK. Here you are.
Thanks.
Excuse me, could you pass me the sugar?
Oh, yes, of course. There you are.
Thank you very much.
Can I help you?
Oh, thank you. Would you mind putting my case on the rack?
Not at all. Oh, there you are.
Oh, thank you so much. You're very kind.
Excuse me, it's a bit stuffy in here. Do you mind if I open the window?
No, no, I don't mind at all. I feel like some fresh air too.
Excuse me, Mrs. Howe. May I ask you something?
Yes, Wendy. What is it?
May I have the day off next Friday?
Well, we're very busy. Is it important?
Yes, it is really. It's my cousin's wedding.
Oh, well, of course you can.
Can I help you, sir?
I beg your pardon?
Can I help you, sir?
Oh, no. No, thank you. I'm just looking.
Good morning.
Good morning. I wonder if you can help me. I'm trying to find a Christmas present for my father.
Might I suggest a tie?
Perhaps. Could you show me some ties?
Excuse me.
Yes?
I wonder if you'd be kind enough to get me one of those tins on the top shelf. I can't reach it.
Certainly. There you are.
Thank you very much indeed. A trip to Spain. Norman Garrard is a trainee sales representative. He's 22 and he works for a company that sells toys. He's going to Spain on business. It's his first business trip abroad and he's packing his suitcase. He lives with his parents and his mother is helping him and fussing.
Norman, haven't you finished packing yet?
No, Mum. But it's all right. There isn't much to do.
Well, I'll give you a hand. Oh, there isn't much room left. Is there anywhere to put your toilet bag?
Yes, it'll go in here. Now, I've got 3 more shirts to pack. They'll go on top. But there's another pair of shoes to get in. I don't know where to put them.
Put them down the side. Right, I think we can close it now.
Right. Where's the label?
Which label, dear?
The airline label to put on the suitcase. Ah, here it is.
Now, have you got the key?
Which key?
The key to lock the case, of course.
It's in the lock, Mum. Don't fuss. There's nothing to worry about. There's plenty of time.
Have you forgotten anything?
I hope not.
And you've got a safe pocket to keep your passport in.
Yes, it's in my inside jacket pocket.
Have you got a book to read on the plane?
Yes, it's in my briefcase.
And has everything been arranged?
What do you mean?
Well, is there someone to meet you at the other end?
Oh, yes. The Spanish representative's meeting me at the airport.
And you've got somewhere to stay tonight?
I hope so. Now, everything's ready. I'll just have to get some pesetas at the airport. I'll need some small change to tip the porter, but that's all.
Well, have a good trip, dear, and look after yourself.
Thanks, Mum.
Oh, I nearly forgot. Here are some sweets to suck on the plane. You know, when it's coming down.
Oh, Mum! Don't worry. I'll be all right, really. I'll see you next week.
Flying to Spain.
This is the last call for the 12 o'clock British Airways flight BA412 to Amsterdam. Would passengers for this flight please proceed without delay to gate 17? Scandinavian Airlines announced the departure of the 12:05 flight SK526 to Stockholm. This flight is now boarding at gate 8. Would passengers for the 12:10 Iberia flight IB341 to Madrid please go at once to gate 16, where this flight is now boarding. Alitalia regret to announce that their 12:15 flight AZ281 to Rome will be delayed for approximately 30 minutes. Olympic Airways announced the departure of the 12:30 flight OA260 to Athens. Would passengers on this flight please proceed to gate 19? This is a call for Mr. Gaston Meyer. Would Mr. Gaston Meyer, travelling on the 12:45 Sabina flight SN604 to Brussels, Report to the airport information desk, please.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Captain Perez and his crew welcome you aboard Iberia flight IB341 to Madrid. I am sorry to announce a slight delay. We are still waiting for clearance from air traffic control. The delay won't be too long, and we hope to arrive in Madrid on time.
This is your captain speaking. We are now passing over the English coast. Our Boeing 727 is cruising at a height of 30,000 feet, and our speed is approximately 560 miles per hour. The temperature in Madrid is 18 degrees Celsius, and it is a clear and sunny day. We expect to pass through some slight turbulence, and would recommend passengers to remain in their seats and keep their belts fastened.
We are now beginning our descent to Madrid. Would passengers please make sure that their seatbelts are fastened and extinguish all smoking materials. We would like to remind passengers that smoking is not permitted until you are in the airport building. We hope you had a pleasant and enjoyable flight. We would like to thank you for traveling on Iberia, and we hope to see you again soon. Would passengers please remain seated until the plane has come to a complete stop and the doors have been opened.
Here's your tray, sir.
Oh, thank you.
Would you like something to drink?
Yes, please. Some red wine.
That's 100 pesetas.
Thanks. Can I pay in British money?
Of course. You needn't pay now, I'll collect it later. Spanish national or non-Spanish, sir?
I'm British.
Would you mind completing this landing card, sir?
Right, thank you.
Passport, please. Thank you. Where have you come from, sir?
London.
And what's the purpose of your visit? Business or pleasure?
Business.
Fine. And how long will you be staying here?
Just for 5 days.
Thank you, Mr. Garat. I hope you enjoy your visit.
Money, money, money.
Excuse me,
Yes, miss.
how much do you want for this plate?
Let me see. Oh, yes. That's a lovely example of Victorian brass. It's worth 20 quid.
£20? Well, that's too much for me. It's a pity, it's really nice.
Ah, I said it's worth 20 quid. I'm only asking 15 for it.
£15?
Yes, it's a real bargain.
Oh, I'm sure it is. But I can't afford that.
Well, look, just for you, I'll make it 14 quid. I can't go any lower than that.
I'll give you 10.
10? Come on, love. You must be joking. I paid more than that for it myself. 14. It's worth every penny.
Well, perhaps I could give you 11.
13. That's my final offer.
12.
12.50?
All right, 12.50.
There you are, love. You've got a real bargain there.
Yes, thank you very much.
Inside Story.
This is IBC News. Julian Snow, the missing Daily News reporter, was interviewed this morning by Dominic Beale of IBC News in Mandanga.
Julian, can you tell us how you were captured in the first place?
Well, I was on my way to visit a village near the front line. I came round a bend in the road, and there was a tree lying across the road. I only just managed to stop in time. Suddenly, armed men appeared on all sides.
What did you do?
What would you do? I just sat there with my hands in the air. Anyway, they made me get out of the Land Rover and made me lie on the ground. I thought, this is it, they're going to shoot me. I started saying my prayers.
What happened next?
Well, they searched me. Of course, I didn't have any weapons, just a camera. It's funny, they let me keep it. Then they tied my hands together and blindfolded me. Then they made me get in the back of a truck and lie under some sacks. I've no idea where they took me, except that it was quite a large training camp. I was there for 10 days.
Were you treated well?
Yes, I suppose I was. They let me walk about the camp, and they let me take photographs, but they wouldn't let me photograph any faces. I was able to interview some of the leaders.
How did you escape?
I didn't. They put me back in the truck, blindfolded me again, drove for a few hours, then made me get out, pointed me in the direction of town, and let me go.
And what exactly did the guerrilla leaders say about the situation?
Well, if you want to know that, you'll have to buy tomorrow's Daily News.
Preferences.
What are you doing tomorrow night?
Nothing. Why?
Well, do you like jazz?
Yes, I do, very much.
Which do you like best, modern or traditional?
I like both, really.
There's a weather report concert at the Hammersmith Odeon. Would you like to come?
Oh, yes, they're my favourite group.
Lisa, look over here. They've got a very good selection of Levi cords.
Oh, yes, and they got my size, too.
But only in navy blue and black. Which do you prefer?
I don't like either of them very much. I really wanted green.
They haven't got green in your size. Go on, try a pair on.
No, I prefer to look somewhere else.
Have you decided yet? What do you want to see?
A Moment of Peace is on at the Continental. I'd like to see that.
Would you really? Oh, I'd rather see War in Space.
Oh, no. The reviews were terrible.
I know, but it sounds fun. A Moment of Peace is in French, and I'd rather not have to read subtitles.
Then how about California Sunset?
I'd rather not. I can't stand Steve Newman.
Well, you choose.
I don't fancy any of them. I'd much rather stay in and watch TV.
What do you fancy?
I don't know. There isn't much choice, is there?
No, there isn't really. What would you rather have? Steak and kidney or place?
Can't make up my mind. I'd rather have a hamburger.
We can ask for the full menu if you like.
No, it's not worth it. I'll have the place.
Where have all the fans gone?
Good evening and welcome to the Michael Parkhurst Talkabout. In tonight's Talkabout, we're looking at the problem of soccer's missing millions. Since 1950, attendance at football matches has fallen by nearly 50%. Many clubs are in financial trouble, and tonight we hope to identify the major causes and discuss some possible solutions. First of all, we'll hear from one of soccer's lost millions, Mr. Bert Woods from London, who used to be a regular Chelsea supporter.
I stopped going 5 or 6 years ago. I'd rather stay at home, watch it on telly. You get a better view. I don't like the action replays. I'm too afraid to go now, really. All this violence, you know. When I was a lad, there was the occasional fight on the terraces, but nothing like you see these days. Whole gangs of teenagers who aren't interested in football. Somebody ought to do something about it. These kids aren't real fans. They just come looking for trouble. The police ought to sort out the real fans from the troublemakers. You know, I always used to go with my dad, but I wouldn't take my kids. There's too much foul language. And I don't only blame the kids. There ought to be more discipline at home and in schools.
Thank you, Mr. Woods. Let's go over to Brian Huff, the manager of Eastfield United, one of our most successful clubs. Brian?
I sympathise with Mr. Woods, and there are plenty of people like him. Anyway, we better do something about it or we'll all go broke. The clubs and players must share the blame. Football's big business and it's very competitive. Winning has become the most important thing. There's too much violence on the field. Referees have to get tougher with players. They should send off players for deliberate fouls. The other problem is television. There's too much football on TV, and they only show the most exciting parts, goals, fouls and violence. People are bored when they see the real game. Anyway, the clubs started talking about these problems 10 years ago, and nothing's been done. We better not spend another 10 years talking. We better do something, and do it soon.
Our next guest is a young fan, Kevin Dolan, a Manchester United supporter who is 16 years old. What do you think, Kevin?
Well, I'm not one of soccer's missing millions. I never miss a match. I've travelled all over the country with United, and I've never been in trouble. I blame the media for most of this violence. They only show young people when they're doing something wrong. They ought not to give so much publicity to troublemakers. It only encourages the others, doesn't it? The violence always starts when there's a TV camera near. If they banned alcohol from football grounds, there'd be much less trouble.
Thank you, Kevin. Our last speaker is Jimmy McTavish, the ex-Scotland striker, who has just returned from the United States after spending 2 years with Miami Galaxy. Well, Jimmy, what ought we to do?
I agree with a lot of what's been said, Michael, but hadn't we better look at some solutions? I've been playing in the States for the last 2 seasons, and I haven't seen any violence over there. A football match is a day out for the family. More than half the supporters are women and children, and there are much better facilities. Everybody gets a comfortable seat. There are good restaurants, and there's entertainment before and after the game, and at half-time. Football stadiums are old, cold and dirty over here. We'd better take a good look at American soccer. I think we've got a lot to learn. Entertainment is what football is all about, and we'd better not forget it.
Night flight.
This is Captain Cook speaking. Our estimated time of arrival in Brisbane will be 1 a.m, so we've got a long flight ahead of us. I hope you enjoy it. Our hostesses will be serving dinner shortly. Thank you.
It was Christmas Eve, 1959, and the beginning of another routine flight. The hostesses started preparing the food trays. A few of the passengers were trying to get some sleep, but most of them were reading. There was nothing to see from the windows except the vast blackness of the Australian desert below. There was nothing unusual about the flight, except perhaps that the plane was nearly full. A lot of the passengers were travelling home to spend Christmas with their families. The hostesses started serving dinner. It was a smooth and quiet flight. The hostesses had finished collecting the trays, and they were in the galley putting things away, when the first buzzers sounded. One of the hostesses went along the aisle to check. When she came back, she looked surprised. "It's amazing," she said. "Even on a smooth flight like this, 2 people have been sick." 20 minutes later, nearly half the passengers were ill, dramatically ill. Several were moaning and groaning, some were doubled up in pain, and 2 were unconscious. Fortunately, there was a doctor on board, and he was helping the hostesses. He came to the galley and said, "I'd better speak to the captain. This is a severe case of food poisoning. I think we'd better land as soon as possible." "What caused it?" asked one of the hostesses. "Well," replied the doctor, "I had the beef for dinner, and I'm fine. The passengers who chose the fish are ill." The hostess led him to the flight deck. She tried to open the door. "I think it's jammed," she said. The doctor helped her to push it open. The captain was lying behind the door. He was unconscious. The co-pilot was slumped across the controls, and the radio operator was trying to revive him. The doctor quickly examined the 2 pilots. "They just collapsed," said the radio operator. "I don't feel too good myself." "Can you land the plane?" said the doctor. "Me? No, I'm not a pilot. We've got to revive them," he replied. "The plane's on automatic pilot. We're okay for a couple of hours." "I don't know," said the doctor. "They could be out for a long time." "I'd better contact ground control," said the radio operator. The doctor turned to the hostess. Perhaps you should make an announcement. Try to find out if there's a pilot on board. We can't do that, she said. It'll cause a general panic. Well, how the hell are we going to get this thing down? Said the doctor. Suddenly, the hostess remembered something. One of the passengers. I overheard him saying that he'd been a pilot in the war. I'll get him. She found the man and asked him to come to the galley. Didn't you say you used to be a pilot? She asked. Yes, why? The pilot's all right, isn't he? She led him to the flight deck. They explained the situation to him. You mean you want me to fly the plane? He said. You must be joking. I was a pilot, but I flew single-engine fighter planes, and that was 15 years ago. This thing's got 4 engines. Isn't there anybody else? He asked. I'm afraid not, said the hostess. The man sat down at the controls. His hands were shaking slightly. The radio operator connected him to air traffic control. They told him to keep flying on automatic pilot towards Brisbane and to wait for further instructions from an experienced pilot. An hour later, the lights of Brisbane appeared on the horizon. He could see the lights of the runway shining brightly beyond the city. Air traffic control told him to keep circling until the fuel gauge registered almost empty. This gave him a chance to get used to handling the controls. In the cabin, the hostesses and the doctor were busy attending to the sick. Several people were unconscious. The plane circled for over half an hour. The passengers had begun to realize that something was wrong. "What's going on? Why don't we land?" shouted a middle-aged man. "My wife's ill. We've got to get her to hospital." A woman began sobbing quietly. At last the plane started its descent. Suddenly there was a bump which shook the plane. "We're all going to die!" screamed a man. Even the hostesses looked worried as panic began to spread through the plane. "It's all right," someone said. "The pilot's just lowered the wheels, that's all." As the plane approached the runway, they could see fire trucks and ambulances speeding along beside the runway with their lights flashing. There was a tremendous thump as the wheels hit the tarmac, bounced twice, raced along the runway and screeched to a halt. The first airport truck was there in seconds. "That was nearly a perfect landing. Well done," shouted the control tower. "Thanks," said the man. "Any chance of a job?" The junk shop. Justin Wedgwood and Lenny Smith are antique dealers. They've got a very successful business. They travel around the country buying antique furniture and paintings from junk shops and from elderly people, and then they sell them from their shop in Kensington, a fashionable part of London. Today they're in a small Welsh town. Justin's just come out of a little junk shop, and he seems very excited.
Lenny, we're in luck. There's a painting in there, a landscape. It's a good one. I thought it might be valuable, so I had a good look at the signature. It isn't very clear. I think it may be a constable.
A constable? It can't be. They're all in art galleries. They're worth a fortune.
Well, someone found one 2 years ago. This might be another. It's dirty and it isn't in very good condition.
How much do you think it's worth?
I don't know. It may be worth 100,000. It might even be worth more.
Be careful, Justin. We'd better use the old trick.
Right. There's a chair in the window. It must be worth about £5. I'll offer the old lady 50 quid for it. She'll be so pleased that she won't think about the painting.
Don't say you want the painting. Say you want the frame, okay?
Fine. You'd better wait in the van. I'd rather do this on my own.
Justin, check the signature before you give her 50 quid for the chair.
Don't worry, Lenny. I know what I'm doing.
I'll be with you in a minute.
Now, hello. I'm interested in that chair in the window.
What? That old thing? It's been there for years.
Has it? It's very nice. I think it could be Victorian.
Really?
Yes, I think I'm right. I've seen one or two other chairs like it. I think I could get a good price for that in London. I'll offer you, £50.
50? You must be mad, man.
No, it's a fair price.
Well then, it's yours.
Here you are, then. £50. Goodbye. Oh, by the way, that painting's in a nice frame.
It's a nice picture, dear. Early 19th century, I've heard.
Oh, no, it can't be. I've seen lots like it. It must be 20th century. There's no market for them. Still, I could use the frame.
All right. How much will you give me for it?
How about £20?
Oh, no, dear. It must be worth more than that. It came from the big house on the hill.
Did it? Let me have another look at it. Yes, the frame is really nice. I'll give you 100.
Oh, dear. I don't know what to do. You see, I like that painting myself.
All right. 120. That's my final offer.
Shall we say 150?
Okay, it's a deal.
Shall I wrap it for you?
No, I've got the van outside. It was nice doing business with you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye, dear. Thank you. Owen!
Yes, my love?
I've sold another of your imitation constables. You'd better bring another one downstairs. If the paint's dry. The gentleman who bought it seemed very pleased with it.